Hello, everyone. It is Special Spirits from London in my case and Chicago in case of Terrie. So we meet here to talk about challenges people face, to talk about visible and invisible disabilities, to talk about things which are difficult and challenging, but the beauty is in overcoming and the journey. So Terrie is joining us. Terrie Vanover is joining us from Chicago. She has a story, of course, an incredible story of overcoming her childhood traumas and quite a few, I would imagine, relationship traumas as well. Terrie, is currently specializing in as well. She works as a strategist for relationships and advice for how to handle a divorce. So definitely something which can be really traumatic in people's lives.
And very much so, yeah.
Absolutely. And I love the name of your practice, Choosing to Rise, as and it is about a choice we have in life. We can be victims or we can choose not to be. So it is very exciting. I can't wait to start. So Terrie, please add to the story of your life. Bring us some color and let us know how has it been for you, and what was the beginning? How did it make you who you are?
Thanks, Monica. Thanks for having me. Yeah, so I'll start off because people usually ask me the first question when they hear me talk. Even though I'm in Chicago, I obviously have a thick Southern drawl. So, I grew up just a poor country girl in Virginia, actually in the U.S. And my mom was a single mom. She had very little education and we had very little money growing up, and my parents divorced when I was very young, 3 or 4. I really don't remember what I knew that their relationship was pretty not good. What little memory I do have of it, them being married. And my biological father, I would say today we'd say, is a functioning alcoholic, and I can count on the number a few times on my hand that I've seen him. And what few interactions we had were pretty negative, And so, between, feeling abandoned by him, and then I was sexually abused when I was 7 years old by a family member, and growing up with such poverty and, just such a traumatic childhood and being sexually abused and feeling abandoned by my father, I really grew up with a lot of sense of shame, a sense of abandonment, a lot of feeling that I wasn't good enough. And I brought that all into my adulthood. But these things manifest the most in our intimate partnerships. And I will tell you, and I have to, proclaim this, that I was not a good wife. I was needy. I was insecure. I was controlling. And my marriage dissolved after a few short years when my oldest daughter was the same age of my mom when they divorced. And during my divorce, I became homeless. I lost my mom. I was hit by a van while riding my bike, lost all my money. So I just suffered so many setbacks during this time. Within 4 months, my life completely changed. It just was like the worst experience. You just think it can't get any worse, and then it just kept getting worse. And when I came through that, like you said, we can look at some of these things and we can learn from it. And I think for me, in my divorce, hitting that rock bottom, sitting in that strange woman's basement, crying my eyes out day in, day out, it was actually the epiphany for me. It was actually my awakening, as we've talked about, because I recognized that I was lonely, but I was lonely while I was married. And I was always lonely. And for me, it was the awakening because I realized this loneliness deep within me was the fact that I just didn't love myself, that I felt unlovable. And it began my journey of healing myself and teaching others how to heal themselves from trauma, abandonment, relationship problems, because so many of us, use our intimate relationships to try to heal us and to try to fill the void within us. And it's just impossible. You cannot heal internal problems with external solutions, which I had done for many, many years. And now I, have overcome that. I teach other people how to heal from trauma, how to heal their relationships, how to get through divorce. I think divorce is really symptomatic of bigger issues within us. And if we can recognize that life will present you with events and people that are there to teach you something about yourself, you can use it as an opportunity for growth. Like you said in the beginning of this introduction, that this can be an opportunity for growth. So I took accountability for my behaviors, for my actions, teaching others how to get through divorce more amicably, work through their own issues. And, not only do I get to do this and do this as a career and help so many other people, but I'm really proud of the fact that I've, revamped my personal life. I'm friends with my ex-husband, and people think that is so crazy. And and I probably, Monica, would have said it is crazy. When I was going through that divorce, we hated each other. We did not have that conscious uncoupling kind of divorce like people think we do. Like, no. But if you show up differently in your relationships, others around you can show up differently. And I believe that's how that happened for us. And so I'm remarried to an amazing, wonderful, generous New York Italian. We've grown our family. We have a blended family of with 5 kids. And my ex-husband, we hang out together. We just celebrated my son's birthday. We were over at his house. My husband and him were playing video games together. And I think everyone thinks like this is like, no, and it's impossible. And like, we've put the past behind us. We're there for our kids. We don't have to drag all that in there. And we're really here to show other people that it is possible. You can get past what happened, the hurt, the resentment, the pain, and create a new future for yourself and for your children.
Mm-hmm. Well, what a beautiful message you are bringing of hope and that love which we can embrace again and sort of learn the lessons. I love that what you said, that the life brings us lessons. Those experiences are lessons for us, which we need to learn simply. If we choose to see
exactly. And people too. And, you're a mom, I'm a mom. And if we look at the people that the universe brings to us as messengers for places where we still have to heal. And I always say like our children are our biggest healers, if we're willing to look at like, what are our biggest triggers, right? And if we look at that and we go, oh, okay, this is really about me. It's not about my child, or it's not about my ex-husband. It's really about me. And it's something I need to look within and heal within me. And then you can show up differently in all your relationships. And it is amazing. It is really amazing because like you said, it puts the power back in your hands. You're no longer a victim to anyone else. You can take your power back by looking at it from a place of growth rather than a place of blame.
Yes, amazing. That is a hard, difficult one. So I really feel impressed with your journey, and I wonder, when you mentioned awakening, that moment of awakening, what sort of help you were seeking? Did you go into that personal development, spiritual development? Have you had any people helping you, any courses? I'm just intrigued by it. Everyone will have a different method, obviously different modality will work better for each person. So
absolutely. Yeah, I love that question. That's such a great question. So yeah, I think when I was like in that basement, now I look back at it and what I recognize now is that I consciously surrender to it. So what I teach people to do is when they're fighting and fighting and fighting, like against the feeling or fighting against their ex or whatever, like consciously surrender to what is. And, I just got curious, because my instinct, I'll just be honest, and I'm pretty honest and I'm pretty open, because I believe we're only as sick as our secrets. And I just said, I was like, I really wanted to go out there and get male attention, just like I had my whole life. And because that's what made me feel good about myself. And I was like, sister, you've got to sit here and sit with this loneliness for a while, because you have been running away from it for a long time and it's gotten you here. And this isn't good. And it was when I consciously surrendered to it and said, what is this about? I finally made the connection between the abandonment of my father to the love I didn't feel about myself. And then I went on the healing path to, starting to figure out how to heal that within myself. And now I teach others to do it. And it's through coaching. It's through, using therapeutic modalities. It's through mindfulness techniques that I teach my clients, meditation, becoming mindful, consciously surrendering, some other therapeutic things in there as well. So yeah, and self-help books, like there's a lot of stuff that we can do to improve ourselves, but it begins with that first step of just surrender.
So important. Absolutely. And I think you also touched on self-love, that feeling which we are trying, or that particular love which we are trying to find from other sources. And what we are effectively doing is fulfilling the void we have inside of us. So that's been a journey as well, sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's, what, I got to be honest with you, that's an ongoing journey, and just like I said, because you have to recognize it. So it's a process where I do some reparenting with how I teach people how to reparent themselves, to give themselves the love that they feel like they didn't get, or the worthiness or the validation that you didn't get in your childhood. So I teach people how to reparent themselves so that they can get the love that they feel that they didn't receive in childhood. Again, I think every parent does the best they can, and I don't blame my mom. I thought she was a great mom, but because of the circumstances, I think we all, as children, we internalize it differently.
Exactly.
And so, it is an ongoing journey.
Mm-hmm.
And if you recognize that the triggers that we have is an opportunity for you to look within and figure out, like, oh, where do I still have some stuff to work through? It was not too long ago. I was working with a team, to kind of grow the Instagram and do all this stuff. And someone had invited me to do some modeling. And I was like, what? And it triggered me, which, you would think, why? So that was the aha moment for me of why am I so reactive to this? Because it was a genuine compliment, and it was a genuine invitation to collaborate for this company. And I was internally, very reactive to it. And I was like, what is this about? And when I just sat with it, what I recognize within me, there is still a part of me that still feels like I'm an ugly, unlovable little girl, because some stuff that happened in my childhood, some bullying when I was called a dog, in school, that came up. And I was like, oh, so, and it's great because rather than running from it or being in denial about it, by just surrendering to it and awakening to it and then letting it go, it's like another layer of freedom, another layer of peace. And you go, oh, that's what that's about. And it's all about layers too. No one's perfect. We're constantly peeling back the layers to feel good about ourselves. Yes. And it was just a great thing to oh, okay, now I'm more embracing my looks, more embracing who I am, more rather than self-love. I'd love for us to talk about self-acceptance. So that was more of oh, I'm more accepting of who I am and how I look and, all that stuff.
Yes, feeling comfortable in your own skin, as they say.
Right. So if you embrace these things, if you embrace these triggers, if you embrace these judgments or whatever it is that comes up for you, you can then let it go, and you become more in love with yourself, more accepting of yourself. That's what I love about it. That's what I love about the work that I do.
Amazing. And I love what you do as well, because I think it's so important to embrace that part of ourselves and responsibility for our part in the relationship. Talking of
Yeah.
which, you've just said your ex-husband is now your your friend, and you are doing the co-parenting in a partnership model. I mean, that's great, because your ex-partner must have been ready for that process as well. It's not necessarily the case in some relationships. So as you strategize the relationships and help with a sad case of divorces, what are the biggest sort of takeouts for people? So or maybe what are some tips, advices which you could give, something maybe to look ahead? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm still single, so in case anyone is watching and is interested,
So Monica, do you mean tips for like creating a healthy new relationship, or for changing the old one?
I think I managed to put two questions into one. I'm sorry. So let's go to yes. So let's go into how to build healthy relationships. What would be the advice there?
Yeah, I've learned a lot about relationships through working through divorce, like what works, what doesn't work. I think for the one of the big things, if you want to have a healthy partnership, is know yourself. Love yourself, accept yourself, know yourself, have healthy boundaries. And so that can be important too when we're talking about divorce, because I don't want to give the false impression that everybody's going to be hanging out with their ex and playing video games, and it's not always possible or always healthy, although I think it's more possible than we think it is in more relationships. But you can have really healthy boundaries for yourself and be able to communicate that in a way to others. And that's really what it comes down to. Oftentimes, when people are triggered by their exes or triggered by other people, there's something within them they haven't worked through, and they have to work through that and create healthy boundaries. But most people, to be honest with you, aren't honest with themselves. Don't do the inner work to know, what are my negotiables and what are my non-negotiables? And am I willing to stand up for that for myself? I work with many people pleasers, actually, and empaths that struggle with boundaries, and so it's a matter of them taking some time to reflect, knowing what are your non-negotiables, and knowing that you're worth speaking up for them. Because every time you have a boundary and you allow someone to step on that boundary, you're telling yourself, I really don't matter. And it's just eating away at you. The more you stand up for yourself and you say, I matter, my needs matter, my boundaries matter, the better you feel about yourself. But not only that, Monica, people have a misconception that they think it's all about them. But other people feel more secure around people who are confident, who know themselves. You've been around those people, and where you stand with them, and you know who they are, and there's a sense of security around that. Boundaries aren't just good for an individual, but they're good for those around us. We all feel good when we're around people who are very strong and very confident and know themselves. Gives us a good sense of structure.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's so true what you said, that it's not only for us, it's for someone else's sake. And when children are involved, of course, it will help definitely to have that structured boundaries again. So,
absolutely. Exactly. Yeah, that goes without saying, right? Think about parents that don't have good boundaries, or one day there's a rule and then the next day that rule doesn't really, that's not healthy. But so many adults, it's the same thing, and we just have to own that and say, what, it's better for everyone around us if we have a line in the sand and we stand up for ourselves.
Absolutely. I'm glad you say it in such a plain, sort of simple, step-by-step manner, because it's sometimes the most complex things, and relationships can be complex for many people to understand emotions, what triggers them, what triggers the other person. I mean, that multi-layers of emotions, responses, and triggers. So to simplify it, I think is a great way of looking at it, and into structure. So I really like the way you kind of making it simple.
It's like my down home kind of like, I know, I think I'm like a woo woo person, but I like break it down and make it super simple and super. I'm a woo woo too, but I was like, I don't consider myself a woo woo person, but I was like, I think I am, but but yeah, you can break it down and make it simple. And another piece of advice, if you're in the dating arena, Monica, is this one's pretty. This is going to blow your mind, but like, don't base a relationship based on feelings. People get that very mixed up. When you're in the dating arena, it's very important to look at whether that person's words align with their actions. And so many people, like I said, the empaths, the people pleasers, they really are about feeling, right? We have to be very careful about that. We have to look at, is this person's, well, what they're saying, is that what they're doing? Because I've got a lot of clients that go into the dating pool, and I would tell them, like, you're there to learn about yourself, because the people that you're meeting are going to be your greatest teachers about yourself. So if you go in it with that attitude, and you also understand that feelings are fleeting, they come and go. And so that's why I think it's really important to make sure when you're dating, align people's actions with their words. And when people show you who they are, believe them. That's the biggest thing. You right? You've got the girlfriend who, right out the gate, the guy she's dating did something, and they're like, well, we minimize it, or we, come up with excuses, or like, no, when people show you who they are, believe them.
Yes. Do not make excuses for them.
Right.
We tend to do generally because we want to believe in the dream of becoming something we really want, and it's so tempting with those butterflies on the tummy and
the feelings, right?
Absolutely. I've been there. Oh gosh, I've been there. Like,
we all have. We all have, and that's why, Monica, that's why it's important to heal the trauma within you and heal you, so that you can clearly see people for who they are. Like, I had a client who, her issue was, she came from a childhood where she really wasn't accepted in her family as a child. It's very complicated, but that kind of is the simple version of it. And she was dating, and we had talked, and because she'd been working with me, she saw the red flags in this guy, and I was like, okay. And I thought, okay, she was gonna end this. It wasn't working, blah blah blah. And then few weeks later, I was like, wait a minute, what's going on with this guy? I thought you had determined that his actions don't align and you were ready to move on. And she went, well, and how does he make you feel? And the truth was, he made her feel very comfortable, and so sometimes with love languages, people kind of confuse that love language with some of their trauma. And this is what she was doing. She felt like spending time, that was her love language. But the time was that, he made her feel very comfortable in the time that they were there. But the red flags were going off because he was constantly ditching her last minute and not following through on his words. He was saying one thing and doing the other, his actions were. And, when she recognized it was that little girl that just wanted to be accepted as who she was, she could see, oh, I see the attraction there, but long term, this is not a partner who would be there for me. Does that make sense?
It does make total and complete sense. Absolutely. And also it depends what we want. If we want a long-term relationship, there are different, I guess, different criteria compared to if we want a fling, a short thing which
And
will
there's
have no future. In the
absolutely, and
yes.
there's no judgment in that. It's just that she was looking for something committed and like, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I agree with you. You have to know yourself and be honest with that about with yourself
Mhm.
and with others. So if you're like, look, I'm just dating around, I'm just having fun, like I have no problem with that. And I wish more people would just be honest about
Yeah.
it. You know, I'm not looking for any commitments. I really want, just someone to hang around with. But yeah, she had determined that her non-negotiables were she wanted a partner who would at least be there for her twice a week. As a single mom, yeah, that's okay. That if that is your boundary, great that you have, come up with that and you've communicated and he's not doing it. There you go.
Yes.
Everybody has to know what their negotiables and non-negotiables are.
Mhm. And that's going back, taking us back to knowing yourself and articulating that to others whom we have expectations about. So that's really good. I love that sort of us being centered on ourselves. That's sort of bringing us back to something I wanted to ask you from the beginning. What is your practice? Maybe daily practice, maybe not daily practice, but what helps you to be sort of centered and grounded and sort of connected with yourself? Because
Okay.
again, I mean, during busy life, it's it kind of easy to get lost and follow someone else's vision. So, what is your thing? What grounds you? What makes you connected?
I love this. I will say, meditation. And listen, it doesn't have to be this big woo woo sitting in a dark. I got a bunch of kids running around. Sometimes it's just a few minutes a day. I just wish, every parent can just take a couple of minutes and just be still with their breath. That's like an important part of my day. I wake up before my children, so I have that quiet time to myself. And there's some great apps, Headspace, Calm. I think those are really great apps that teach you short, meditation so that you can learn the thoughts and like we don't have to get entangled with those thoughts. So meditation is one of the things I do every day. I do like a mindset thing right now about like I'm reading the book It's Not Your Money and kind of have done this little prayer about sending it up to the universe and just letting that go.
It's always a good idea.
Yeah, that's a good one. And then I have a great, and I can share this with your audience too. I do a daily 5 every single day. I will tell you, Monica, I think that I always say meditation has been life-changing for me. I really wish more people would practice it because it's just allowed me a space to not react and to recognize when I'm triggered and like not to like, I don't have to go down this rabbit hole. I can just be okay. But I do this daily 5 every morning. And I think that has been life-changing because it was like the gratitude thing that we were talking about earlier. And my hat will be on my gratitude list. So it starts with number 1 is you can do 3. Right now I'm doing 5 things, 3 to 5 things that you're grateful for. Number 2 is 3 to 5 things you want to manifest, which I like. So this morning I wanted to manifest the voice with your audience and connection with your audience. So that was what I wanted to manifest. It doesn't have to be this,
Doesn't
big
it
thing, but just kind of in touch with yourself. And then number 3 is what are my like 3 things I want to get accomplished. So that's kind of my like to-do list. Like, okay, I gotta write this, content today, or I got to email so-and-so, or, little things. And then number 4, at the end of the day, you look back and you say, okay, where are some areas for growth? Where are some areas that I could have maybe had some improvements in my day, could have been more patient with the children, maybe not eating that for dinner or whatever, And then 5 is, what are my miracles? And I love that. And so my hat, I was telling Monica at the beginning, like I found a hat that's adjustable, which is a miracle for me because I have a teeny tiny head. So it's those small miracles, if we're looking for it, can make the hugest difference in our life, because we don't live intentionally and we let the days go by. But just those small miracles that occur to us every day. Like one of my miracles will be it's quiet during this recording because my kids are downstairs. I was like, I'm praying we'll make it through it. But hey, it's a miracle. It's true. Like, why not? It is true.
You've manifested. It's beautiful. Amazing. We started with an intention, and that helps as well. That's completely doable. What you've said, it's completely. Yeah. I mean, what do we need? 10 minutes for that? 15 minutes per day?
No. I got it down. Like there's certain things that I want to manifest every day, so it's like easier for me. I mean, it takes me literally less than 5 minutes, and then of course I move my body. I forgot to say that. For me, like having a healthy body is just as important as the mind. Like they go together. I think you've got to put time into, your workouts, or even if it's just running in nature or walking in nature, but definitely moving your body is important as well. So I do that too. So every single day. So
yeah. So mind, body, and spirit are happy.
Yes, right. Like I think that's so important. Self-care is a part of that. You asked me, like, what is the process for loving yourself? Self-care, right? I matter enough to like make time enough to go to the gym. I matter enough, give myself, 10 minutes to meditate every day. I matter enough to, take time out to buy a hat or, whatever. I think so many, especially moms who have especially now in this time, where there's so little time for us and we're sacrificing so much, we do need to set some intentional time to try to nurture our soul and nurture our spirit.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree completely again. So you've just got a massive agreement on everything you've said. And I really appreciate you coming to share this message, because it's, again, I will repeat, it's easy to forget. Not that we matter, but that those things remind us that we matter, and it's so important to put it in a daily practice. So thank you for this beautiful reminder, and what a pleasure to look at you in that beautiful, very stylish hat, as I said. I'm jealous. I've got a small hat too, so I'll be asking for the retailer.
But you understand what a miracle it is. You're like, oh my God.
I completely understand, absolutely. And I could see we've had some lovely comments and ladies saying hi, mainly ladies, because I think we are really tapping to the female audience. So we've got Dawn, Posh, and Facebook user 3 times. I'm sorry, I can't see the name if you don't register with StreamYard. Unfortunately, that's how it works. So we'll be able to see it in comments. But thank you so much for making an effort and sending us love and light.
I love that. Yeah, I can see the comments now too. Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Let's show them, because they are so beautiful. I wish we had a name. Please register next time.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. Absolutely. Mind, body, and spirit. Yes. Yes, we are definitely into. I see. It is Tota. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, but at least we can see it here.
Beautiful name, yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and for so many women too, it's that self-care. But another thing that I tell women that are under great challenges right now, compassion. I don't know about you, Monica, but like, I'm the first person to beat myself up when I make a mistake, or I don't,
I'm learning.
Yeah, we're learning. Yeah. And, February was a particularly challenging month for me. And it was interesting how, again, those triggers came up and I was like, I was like beating myself up over like being a couple minutes late to the gym one day. And I was like, girl, self-compassion, like you're doing the best you can under unbelievable circumstances. A lot of like self-compassion and self-love and self-acceptance.
Terrie, I would just share what was my a moment when I needed to stop and think about self-compassion is when a coach of mine said to me, and I thought that I was sort of following that model of pushing myself harder, achieving more. And with my coach, of course, I was on a program. I was more business oriented, and that coach said to me, Monica, if there was a friend of mine if I had a friend who talked to me the way you talked about yourself, I would never speak to them again. And I was, wow, what have just been said? And that was a moment when I just had to take a deep look into how I talk about myself, how I feel about myself, how critical I was about myself. So that's definitely something I've done and had to realize it doesn't suit me well. So no self-criticism, please. Self-love, and we can
reframing that, right? And it's the same thing. Like, how would you talk to your daughter, right? So we would reframe that, like, oh, you made it to the gym, like, good for you, you did it, like, instead, celebrating the success versus like the mistake or whatever, in our heads we have about it. So we definitely but the first step is like becoming aware.
So what I'm sort of concluding here is the better we are with ourselves, the better our relationships are.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, absolutely. I work with so many, especially like strong independent women that are married and like that are struggling in their relationships. And the more they kind of show up differently in their relationship and are more, again, it's that surrender and open and knowing myself and communicating my needs versus making assumptions that my, partner knows what I want or knows what I expect. I think that's another thing about married people. I think sometimes we assume that our partner knows what we want or what our expectations are, and we have to communicate that in a way that they can receive.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That reminds me of the book 4 Agreements, which is amazing. And that's one of the rules, to not assume. Oh, gosh, that's a big mistake in terms of communication and relationships as well. So thank you for a good reminder. And again, I think when we are so intimate with people, so close to them, we live 24/7 with them, it's almost, that's the slippery slope. We get into that convenience of maybe not paying attention to how we are with them and about them. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there is like a part, we start to take for granted, the relationship. So it's about, I call it like, I know my husband and I, we love and live together consciously, but I will say, I think for most couples, it's two wounded little kids in a partnership trying to get their needs met. And if we can become aware of like, ooh, how's that like wounded little girl showing up in this relationship looking for something from my partner? And if your partner does the same thing, like, oh, what am I expecting from her that I'm not getting? It really can bring the relationship to a whole nother level.
Yes. Well, let me just bring on a few more comments because now we know it was River who was sending us comments before.
Oh, that's a beautiful name.
It is, isn't it? Oh, apparently we've pronounced the name very well. I'm a parenting coach too.
Yay!
Good, yay!
Yes, so she knows. I bet Tuta knows that how important it is as parents that we work on ourselves Because like I said in the beginning, your children are your biggest like teachers. They know all your hot buttons. And I really feel like, oh, this child is here to teach me this, and this child is here to teach me this, and this one's for that, you know. So
Yes.
we look at it as like an opportunity for growth rather than like forcing our children to be a certain way to please us. It certainly is a different parenting dynamic. So I'm sure she does a lot of that in her work of like, hey, bring in your best self. And I believe about bringing your best self in whatever the relationship, whether it's with an ex, whether it's with your current partner or with your children. It's really amazing. I always find like I'll be working with divorced people, but they always tell me, oh my God, my relationship with my parents is so much better. My children, my sister and I are closer. It's like, yeah, absolutely.
Yes, well, exactly, because that relationship wasn't the only one which was challenged. I'm
Definitely.
risking a statement here. Oh, that is so beautiful. Let's just see what Todd is saying. Yes. Yeah, we agree. So thank you so much, Terrie, for sharing your nuggets of wisdom with us. I'll be more than happy to put any links in the comment section. So if you would like to share anything with our viewers, you are welcome. We can do it after, of course. And if you would like to have any closing comments, remarks, please, I invite you to make them as we'll be wrapping up.
Yeah, I think, if you can look within yourself, starts with you. Life is presenting you with opportunities and people where you can heal yourself. So if you look at it as an opportunity for growth rather than a setback or, not getting what you want or a challenge, but looking at it as a new way of like, hey, how can I show up differently in this? It really makes a huge difference. So keep working on yourself and keep investing in yourself, especially if we're wives and moms and women in the world. It really makes a difference to invest in being your best self, and that's the best thing that you can do. We're worth it.
Beautiful. What a way to finish. So thank you so much, Terrie. I absolutely loved chatting to you. I loved the heart and the energy, and I'm sure our viewers will benefit and are benefiting from this conversation. We've got a few more comments, but it's all about how nice it was to join. So thank you for being with us. And for those who are watching us on the replay, we hope that you had a nice experience with us. And who knows, we might come here again with Terrie and chat soon.
Anytime. Thanks for having me. It was great speaking with everyone and seeing everyone.
Thank you. So we'll say bye for now and hopefully see you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you, Terrie.